Hello and welcome. Thank you for being here. Today I'm going to share with you my latest book. It's one that I participated in a challenge, and the idea was to create your book primarily from trash, from junk. And so that's what I've done here. I've tried really hard to make it as much stuff that would have otherwise just gone unused. So other than showing you the book, I also want to thank everybody for participating and subscribing to my channel. I just so appreciate that. It just blesses me completely. So what I want to do is do some giveaways now. And so one of the first things I'm going to do, I'll be giving away this book. So if you're interested in this book at all, you'll get to see it. If you're interested in it, I'll tell you at the end how you can be one of the ones that receives it. So here's my book. I made it primarily from a file folder. I wanted it to go with this. This was a primary thing that I first saw that I wanted to make my book from. This is just a paper that came in the wrapping from Christmas time. Maybe some of you guys have it. So as a result, my book took on kind of a grungy natural look. This came from my Christmas light box. I ripped it up and put it there. I did use some lace at the very end. As I was working with my cover, I wasn't pleased with it, and so this is one thing that I would not have called trash, because I could have used it technically on some other book, but it's what really completed my book and gave it what I wanted to look like. So I'm not really hard-nosed about it. I care more about the book really looks how I want it to look like than trying to stay within every single boundary of a challenge, because the challenge is to make the book. Anyway, so here it is. It gave it a softness combined with the hard grungy look. On all my stuff, even though I have lots of stamps, this is a stamp that I use in almost every single book. And you'll see that in the cover of my book, just creating that movement and that texture in the background. That's from this stamp. So this stamp I'll use lightly on ink, and I'll stamp it on just to create a little bit more interest. So this is the, oh my goodness, I've got a little knot going on here. This is what I used to bind it. I also used it just to make a little closure. Oh, my book is probably 5 by 5-ish. I don't know what it is. I'll take the measurements and I'll put it in the bottom. But you can see it's just a small little book. It's a nice size within your hand. Once again, in the back here, I have that stamp. On my file folder, I did coffee dyeing, and I used my leftover coffee grounds to do the dyeing. I was amazed actually at how much you could get out of that. Now the thing is, when you use leftover coffee grounds, I did have to go back over with a cloth to wipe off the actual grounds. There's a little pocket on the back. I just put little scraps in there. Something that created the color, but also it was just trash. So here we are. I'm going to open up to the first page. I should tell you about this little nest. I just took the nest by cutting up little teeny tiny strips and taking feathers. These feathers had fallen to the floor of my studio, my little place here, so I just picked them up and I put them in. On my first page here, I have a little envelope. This comes from the inside of an envelope that probably many of you are familiar with. This can be whited out with paint to be written on. Another one of those feathers that had fallen. This comes from my light box. I've got some netting here. This came from a cupcake. It's a specialty cupcake shop, and they wrap their boxed cupcakes up with this netting, and so that's what that is. These are different letters that just come from your good old advertisements. You can get those free at your grocery store. Another egg that came from a piece of mail. So on this page here, I want to show you a little bit more. You can see I've got the little stamping to create interest, but I also have little white spots. I thought the highlights also really create more dimension to the page, and all I did for that, this was a cheap paint from the dollar store. I actually used it on the last project that I made, so it was just a leftover thing that I had. I don't normally use it, but I pulled it out for this, and it worked out great. The gold you see on my tags and on my different spots, like I have a little gold spot there. That gold is actually from a chocolate bar. Candy oftentimes has your gold foiling. This one here is from a Reese's cup. I pulled that out. So you've got the gold, so you can use that in places in your book to create a little bit of additional interest. So like I said, this was from just a shopping tag. You can see the stapler marks in it. Turning the next page, I put a little tiny piece of napkin in there. These are from your junk mail again. I just used different ones, and I created the depth and interest by using the paint once again. And if you look on this one, for example, you can see a darker edge. So I didn't want to use any of the Tim Holtz Distressing, because I thought, well, that's not really junk. Although I did, admittedly, I used the normal ink to put the stamping on there. But what I found from this is that you could take a normal pencil and kind of rub it around your edge, and if you wet your finger just slightly and smudge it, you get the effects that you would essentially from one of your inks. So if you don't have a Tim Holtz inks, or you're somewhere or whatever, try that. You just use your pencil and smudge it, and you've got a great little texture and depth to your piece. Once again, that's the box from the Christmas lights. Turning the page, I just took some of the strips from my wrapping paper, and I braided it up, put some paint on it, and then added some of the little gold detail within there. This is a dryer sheet in the back, adding just a little touch of white, and that's just a folded up piece. Little letters. This here is a dryer sheet. I made a little ribbon out of, it's like you always have those dryer sheets. So I think it looks out fine. I'll probably try using it more just because, why not? Over here, this, I drink tea every morning and every night. This is one of my tea bags. I let it get really grungy. If you let your tea bag just sit and dry it out, it keeps on absorbing the tea and darkening up your bag. This is a really brittle piece of paper that's left over from a previous pocket project. So I put that in there. Now, once again, a feather on my floor. This is just a nice simple page, but yet it worked out well. Just putting some pieces of fabric edging. This is actually thread there, but that's a piece of fabric that came off. So I tucked that in there and just gave it that little bit of movement and interest. And it's got that nice grungy feel, which is the book. Turning the page here, I made a ripped up pocket, lining it like that's the file folder. Here's a piece of, this was a catalog actually, and I had ripped this page out long ago thinking, well, I'm throwing the catalog away, but that's a perfectly good piece of color. So that's from that page. This little rosette, that is a rosette that I made from the laundry sheet. And an egg. I just covered the egg with some of that chocolate bar covering. That's the other part of the ribbon. Once again, the little grunginess. I thought I would do something different here. I put the netting in between, and I tied this whole signature together. So I have 3 different signatures in here, and so this one I tied up. I liked it. So we made tamales this year. Down here I put just a little teeny tiny piece of the corn husk on it. It's all dried out. I think it's just fine, and it adds a nice texture. So moving on here, some pages from an old book that was a Bible study that had personal things written in it. There's no way you're going to donate that. It's very personal. It was my sister-in-law's book, actually. So before it was thrown in the trash, I cut up some pieces and used it in here. This is the box that the cupcakes come in. It's a wonderful robin egg blue, aqua-ish. So I made a couple little eggs out of that. Turning the page here, this little thing, this opens up, and I made it kind of a little envelope. This opens up here. This was actually the top of a McDonald's bag. So it was, my husband brought me an Egg McMuffin. So that's what that is. And these are just some little things from, once again, the junk mail. If you're lucky, it's got just the perfect coloring and covers. Okay, turning the page here, I just created interest by putting different letters around, different textures, different colors. Here's an egg. I put letters on the hearts. And this is a little fold out that I made. and comes out. You can write on all of that, and I just put this in the center to create a little bit more interest. Okay, turning the page here. I kept this one nice and simple. Turning the page, I made some tags out of some of the leftover stuff, and then I made these also out of just leftover. This is dryer sheet, little ribbon at the top. Okay, and so that's the end of that little section there, so I can close that up. So here we go into the third. I made a little pocket, normal thing. So this was the little doily I had wanted to use it on a different project. Didn't work out. It was all folded out and crumpled, and so I pulled it and used it here. Cut that off of a piece of mail. I thought that added a nice little interest. And these little flowers, that flower right there, I ripped off one of the silk plants in my house. I just took it off as I walked by. I thought I can use that, and indeed I did. So if you open this up, you're going to see an envelope here with the little window, and that pulls out. This came from a travel magazine. I like it. This little one, this little love thing, that actually was from our local grocery store. This came from, it was a packaging from an embossing folder. It says Dearest One, another egg from the thing. I made some little wings and a little flip up. Here, I should tell you about this. This is really kind of cool. So this is actually a heart, and I realized when you rip the heart in half, like a broken heart, when you put it together, it has little angel wings. Isn't that kind of fun? Just transformation from a broken heart. Here we have a paint strip and a little piece. This was just a piece that was hanging around. Little eggs in the pocket. I actually put them on a piece of the leftover file folder. So these clocks right here, these are also once again from our local grocery store sales thing. So I made a little time-like thing. Tea bag, and it's a proverb. It says plant kindness and gather love. And this is actually my coffee filter. I use a little percolator, and that's the type of filter that uses. Okay, turning the page here. This was a little fuzzy that came over. It's like a hairnet. And so I cut that up to create just this soft, fluffy movement. This here, my son got a pair of shoes in from Doc Martin. So I took the tissue paper from that and put it in here. And turning the page here, once again, the grocery store paint, you know, at this point, some of the stuff is pretty obvious. Another page at the end here, and just a little flip up. And there you go. So that's my book. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you would like to be the person that receives it free, go ahead and make sure you like my page and subscribe to it, like the video, and then put your name in the comments below that you would like to be in the drawing for it. So I will have more drawings in the coming weeks. I want to do at least probably 3 more. So just be on the lookout for that. And thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed my book, and I hope you enjoy your day. Bye.